Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may happen to be. You have now landed on the Talk About Your Community live stream brought to you by Clocktower Advisors. I'm Todd, your host, and I have to say this is the first live stream of 2023. If you've tuned in live, would love to hear from you. Give us a shout out. If you happen to pop in for a replay later on, either here or on YouTube, would love to hear from you. Please drop into the comments and give the algorithm some love by liking, subscribing, or commenting on today's stream. We've got a really terrific couple of guests here today for the stream. But before I get started with that, I just wanted to say welcome to everybody. I hope the new year is treating you very well. There have been a lot of changes and shifts in the world. We continue to live in this volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous environment of the economic and social world out there. So I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you took some time for a break if you celebrated the holidays, and that you're ready for a new year, ready to set some goals for yourself and move ahead. I thought today's topic would be a really good one to start off the year because the idea is the importance of investing in communities, your online community, as well as the offline components of that, as a key part of your company strategy. Organizations that are just doing sort of social media outreach or just straight sort of marketing plays don't get as much benefit, I would argue, and I think my guests would about this as well, as organizations that invest in building meaningful community environments. And I'll say, from a personal perspective, there's one community that I'm following these days that has, I think, had some struggles recently. The company that was responsible for, being responsive to its fan base really messed up with some changes that affected the creator economy within their space. I'm not going to mention names, but those of you who know my hobbies will understand what I'm talking about. Not to be mysterious about it, but it's Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast is doing some really interesting, probably bad decisions around dealing with their fan community right now. And I've been following it very closely, and it's just redoubled, my commitment and firm belief that organizations really need to be in better touch with their communities, with their constituents, especially in volatile times, especially in times where if you make a move, your customers are more than capable of rising up and taking up pitchforks and torches to create some difficult situations for you if you're not being responsive, if you're not being empathetic in the ways that you deal with them. So enough about that to one side. I would like to bring on my guests here. So we've got two guests from Higher Logic, which is a partner of Clocktower Advisors, and it's been a great partner. They wouldn't be a partner if I didn't like their work and the things that they do. But we're very lucky to have with us today Will Laco, the VP of Product and Strategy for Higher Logic, as well as Michael Davenport, who is the Senior Solutions Architect for Higher Logic as well. Gentlemen, welcome. So glad to have you on the show. Happy 2023 to you both.
Yeah, happy New Year to you too, Todd.
Yeah.
We're happy to be here.
I think now that we're on the 13th of the month, that you guys are probably the last people I'll have to say Happy New Year to. I know we've been on all these calls and everybody is saying it, but I think I'm finally, I've reached sort of the end game for this. By about mid-month, I'm done saying it. But really glad you could both join us today. I'm wondering, Michael, Will, I'd love to hear a little bit about your backgrounds and your journeys coming into work with Higher Logic, and maybe Michael, we could start with you. You're Senior Solutions Architect with Higher Logic. You've been with them since about 2018. What led you to this company? What keeps you springing out of bed every morning to work with these guys? What's exciting about Higher Logic for you?
Yeah, for sure. Todd, thanks for having me. I just want to note before I say, but my goal at the end of this is to get in that intro video. I want to be one of the faces in your intro video that was coming in there.
You can work on that.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely. Exactly. So previously, before Higher Logic, I was a CSM at a company called Commerce Hub, which is basically an e-commerce company for retailers. and I was looking to get into a space where I could maybe make more business decisions and things of that nature. So I moved over to Higher Logic, started off as a support rep there within Higher Logic, worked my way up, was a CSM. Then I got into implementation, and then now senior solutions architect, where I basically go around and I lead demonstrations, product expert, and I go to different departments and I help implement, certain processes that'll help the business be more efficient and such. What really excites me about the community space in general, even outside of Higher Logic, is you talk to anybody in any industry, you learn about so many different industries. I mean, what you were talking about with the Dungeons and Dragons community and things like that, you would never would I necessarily be involved in gaming communities? Maybe not. I'm talking to health organizations. I'm talking to all sorts of different SaaS companies. And so I've just learned so much about the business in general across different industries. And then Higher Logic provides multiple products that fits all of those needs. And so each day I get to come into work and problem solve for a different type of organization. Each day is unique. And that's what makes it exciting to get up for work each day.
Amen to that. I really relate to what you're saying, because I feel that's the fortunate thing about working with all kinds of different communities. You get to see all kinds of different business models, different people, and how they interact with each other. And it really is a very people centric kind of work that we do. And so the software and the solutions side of that all serves that social connection. And I talk about it as sort of like little social media, with a small s, rather than sort of the big platforms, which are great. The only one of which I still feel much level of respect for tends to be LinkedIn, where we're streaming live right now. And I don't say that just because it's LinkedIn, because if they were doing bad stuff, I would say it. But I really like what we do in this space of enabling these smaller connected groups of people who have a lot of common interests or goals or situations, and getting them to a better spot. So thanks for that, Michael.
Of course.
And Will, as in my title, you're a strategy guy. Tell me a little bit about how you ended up at Higher Logic and sort of what your role is in the organization day to day. I would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so a little more of an atypical background. I actually came up through the world of investing. So I was a growth equity investor at a firm called JMI, which is an investor in Higher Logic now. And so we invested in all B2B SaaS companies, 10 to 50 million in revenue. And so I got to learn so much about what makes a company valuable, how to really drive businesses to achieve the goals that they're trying to achieve. And what got me really excited about coming to Higher Logic is just the mission that we have here. And what I love about it is we believe that every brand has a community. It exists out there, but that community may not have a place to go yet. You may find that community popping up in Stack Overflow or Slack channels or Reddit groups or LinkedIn. And part of our mission is we want to enable all these brands to give their communities a place to go and a place to thrive. And there's so much value to the brand's customers or members, but there's so much value to the brand itself as well. So I just fell in love with that mission, and it's a really exciting place to go and try to convince the world that this is the way that you should do things as an organization. And so as a strategist and working with our product organizations, I'm constantly talking to our partners and our customers and just trying to find out what outcomes are they trying to drive and how can we enable them to do it better. And so it's a very exciting role for me to be able to do. I feel fortunate to be in the position I am, but that's the name of the game. It's how much value can we give to our customers, and what can we do to double that, triple that, 5x that in the next coming years.
I really appreciate your perspective about, brands already have communities, but they may not have sort of that commons or that meeting place that really focuses and enables them. A lot of times when I'm talking to customers or anybody that'll listen to me yammer on about communities and their importance, I'll say these communities, think of them almost like a Nautilus shell. Your TikTok following, your Facebook pages, your Twitter, follower count. Those are all elements of your community, but they're kind of chambers in the shell.
Mhm.
But trying to lead people to sort of that center chamber, where is the most focused information, where they can really relate, where they can be inside in sort of the safe place, and where they can get, maybe a little bit more insider information about what's going on with the organization, or with their cause, or whatever they're doing. That's sort of how I think about a platform like a Higher Logic, or some of your other worthy competitors, who are in this space. Provide that protected, safe space, a place to really connect more directly and often with the brand. And there's tremendous value that's driven by that kind of space.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of times we're talking to organizations and they'll say, "Well, we're nervous. We don't know what they're going to say. What if they complain?" And we joke, but we're serious. Like, they're going to do it somewhere. It's happening
Yeah.
somewhere. Might even be behind closed doors and private chats that you don't know about. So why don't you own a space where it can happen? And if there is anything negative said, address it. And that's how you build relationships with customers. And so I've probably had that conversation 50 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. I frequently run into it as well. Surfacing these things is uncomfortable for many organizations, for many leadership teams, and not recognizing that, as you said, those conversations are already happening. Why not be direct about it, and be able to address the narrative, and the problems with that.
Yeah. And the thing that we found that really gets us excited is we set up the infrastructure, we guide people on what the best way to create that space for your community to live. But the people that really make the magic happen are the great people who use your product, or are members of your organization. They're the ones who contribute the idea to help each other share their knowledge. And it's so exciting to see that we're just setting something up, and then it soars from the people who are already there, already involved. And some people, are champions of products. They live in it and breathe in it every day. They master these products over months and years. And it's such a refreshing way to see that they want to share their knowledge. Like, they want to help people in their space come up the learning curve and share what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And so it's really an exciting space to be in.
Do either of you have thinking back to the past year? Do either of you have, without necessarily sharing names of customers, a big success story that you guys have been happy about, or something that Higher Logic really celebrated with a particular customer that you can speak to a little bit?
Yeah, Michael, turn it to you. You've got a couple favorites.
Yeah. So there's a couple customers that I just absolutely love. I think a big win for us as an organization, we rolled out, Todd, our new layout editor. It's a new theming editor that allows you to point and click and drop widgets wherever you'd like. Previously to that, we had a number of customers, enterprise customers of ours, that were basically went in and developed the themes themselves. And so there's pluses and minuses. It can be super customized in that instance, but it's also becomes difficult for us to support. And we actually switched a lot of our enterprise customers over to our layout editor, which allows them to really scale how they grow their community and such. And so, for example, one of my favorite customers, Smartsheet, recently switched to our new layout editor. Their community looks fantastic. They have great statistics that they've done with that as well. And then all of our new customers, Quantex is a new one they have a great community manager over there named Nora, who built out their entire community using our layout editor. She's put together like a monthly digest that she sends out and such. So those are just some great wins. So seeing us roll out a feature, and then not only seeing it get adopted, but adopted successfully by large and small brands, I'd say has been a huge win. And that's a shout out to Will's team and the product team for rolling that out. And now basically all of our customers are like, how can we switch over to this new layout editor? And so we're implementing that. The wins, I think the wins will keep coming throughout this year as well.
That's a fantastic story. And not just out of curiosity. So, I have a customer that I worked with that just signed on and is using the new Thrive product.
Mm-hmm.
That layout editor that you just talked about is, I know I've got the ability to do some drag and drop, with that tool. Is this also with the original product as well?
Yeah. So
yeah,
oh,
the
go
product
ahead.
if you don't mind, Michael, the product we're talking about here is actually our Higher Logic Vanilla branded product.
Oh,
And so
great.
this is a product that's specifically focused to the B2B and B2C technology space.
Yeah.
But yes, as you mentioned, the Higher Logic Thrive product, for people who don't know, is more geared towards our association and nonprofit customers. And that also has a great way to customize look and feel, even get a nice logged in, logged out state for your organization. So different products, but we're same outcomes we're trying to drive, and oftentimes similar functionality.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, I mean, had some extraordinary changes last year. I mean, I think the acquisition of Vanilla, very different platform experience.
Mm-hmm.
From there, you have the original flavor of Higher Logic that was there, and now like the new Thrive platform. Are you guys going to be moving forward with all three of those platforms in the coming year?
Yeah, so the Thrive platform is actually it's built on top of our original technology. And
Mhm.
so don't think of it as a separate product. It's still the same product. It's a new refreshed way to engage with your members.
Mm-hmm.
And so that the development that we've done for 13 years is continuing to go into that. And so we're very, very excited about taking that forward. And then Vanilla is getting a ton of investment since the acquisition. We're excited about the product direction there. We can touch on that a little bit more later, but it's yeah, we're going forward with all the products that we have today, and no plans of changing that.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I definitely want to get back into talking a little bit about some of the product approach in the market that you guys are doing, to the extent you're comfortable talking about that. But the kind of the topic today that I'd really love to dig into a little bit more is this whole idea of uh, community building, establishing online communities as being a really important customer strategy. And I think in the opener, I invoked the VUCA acronym, that we live in volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous times, and it is likely we're going to continue to live in those, in sort of our hyper information rich, kind of internet environment that we live in these days. Um, can you guys maybe talk? Maybe I'll turn to Will, for maybe the first approach to this. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of this, and sort of maybe how you've seen it play out for customers, and what you see as, or maybe talk about as, some really important, practical use cases or returns on investment for having communities in part of your digital mix, in the world in which we live?
Yeah, no, absolutely. First on, I love how you phrase it as community as a company strategy. That's something where in the past community was kind of siloed. Sometimes it was on its own. Community really grew up in the B2C world, with these massive user groups and a way to communicate with all of them. But and then it started moving into the B2B world, and it lived in support for most of the time. So it was a siloed thing in a function. How do we deflect support tickets? By getting our customers to help other customers. Then since then, we've seen this incredible migration throughout the rest of the organization. So now we've got customer success leaders really engaged in their community, because they know that there's such a great way to engage with your customers, oftentimes in a one-to-many setting, that can be more scalable than a one-to-one engagement necessarily, which is a historical way that oftentimes CSMs engage with their customers. And then it's also come to marketing or customer marketing. They're constantly looking for more case studies, more advocates to really be brand advocates, be references, bring in new business. And so people are finally coming around to the fact that community is not a piece of technology that lives in somebody's department. It's really a company strategy, and it can benefit product, marketing, support, customer success, sales, as long as you have the people who are going to put in the effort to reap those benefits.
Mhm.
So we've loved to see that, and I think even one of the silver linings of going through the pandemic was people really turned to their digital strategy and said, we have to be able to take care of our customers if we're not going to necessarily meet them face to face at our events or our conferences. And so it's kind of helped people have this perspective that, we really do have to think about a way to engage them across the whole company, not I'm trying to just reduce our number of support tickets. Michael, any perspectives on that?
Well, I'd say, we talk to a number of different departments. Marketing will always ask, what's the ROI for marketing in particular? And I'll say, how much time does it take you to source new content that your customers are going to go and create for free? Finding new partnerships, speakers for events and things like that. The user generated content that's getting created in some communities daily, and that's where marketing doesn't have to do. So it helps scale marketing efforts in a lot of ways. To get new feature requests and ideas, Will knows all about this. Heading our product team, you have to talk with customers, set up meetings with them, give them a place where they can go and submit those feature requests. And you think about when you have a community that's vibrant, the content that's being created, the ideas being submitted, questions getting answered, it scales it across multiple departments. And then on the nonprofit association side, a lot of times the goal there is to retain and grow membership. Members are looking for ways to find value in the membership with that nonprofit or association. And a large thing that associations provide are, events. I have a lot of friends in the association space. Like, I can't wait for the upcoming conference that we're going to be having. And then they'll say to me, I just wish that we could keep those conversations that we had at the conference going. And I said, well, that's where a community comes into place. We'll see organizations set up after conference communities where they're sharing the resources and encouraging discussion. They're going in and posting about new updates regularly. So you're not just visiting a website and seeing like a static article. People can have conversations. A lot of our association communities are private, but I know for a fact that all of the healthcare communities blew up during the pandemic because they were talking, what are the best practices that other health leaders are doing? What are the resources that you're sharing and things like that? So on both sides of the business, it just helps create content that lives on forever as long as you have that community running.
Yeah, so many great things about what you both said there. So I love the comprehensive view of how it works across across the enterprise or your nonprofit organization, however you're set up, all of the different areas in which it helps. And it definitely resonates with my experiences. So many organizations are worried, first of all, about, are we deflecting trouble tickets, right? Especially, branded communities in particular, that's a big issue. But just how it impacts these other areas. I think for marketing is really interesting. I know that the idea of community-led marketing efforts is like kind of a buzzword that's come up within the last couple of years. There are some people that have been talking about it as a trend, but particularly, I mean, it's like a renaissance for marketing professionals to be leaning upon communities to find out what topics resonate with your top fans who've belonged to those spaces, what they get excited about, crowdsourcing their ideas around that. And now, heck, I can take those things and craft those into nicer curated pieces of content based on what the crowd has had to say or offer. And heck, if I'm having trouble getting started, I could go over to a tool like ChatGPT and have it outline, what my article is going to be, build it, and I'm ready to roll. I mean, man, what a time to be alive to be doing stuff like that. And the community is an integral part of that, because that's sort of the bubbling cauldron of ideas, that organizations have to work from. Really tremendous stuff. I was going to ask, so Bill, Will, coming back to you a little bit about this. You had started out by saying, it's often about ticket deflection and kind of issues. Is there kind of a typical path of evolution that organizations go through where they see like, oh, we've got this use case around ticket deflection, we think that's what the community is going to be about? Like, do they typically then go into like product ideation, or are there other areas that they tend to expand into first in your experience? And I ask this, like, from my limited perspective, I might work with 6 or 7 or 8 customers in the course of a year. You guys are working with dozens, if not hundreds. So I'm very interested in your perspective and kind of what you've seen as journeys or pathways of growth for organizations that have implemented your platforms and tools.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear Michael's take as well. But the way I see it is, there's not always one set path. which is exciting because people come with something new. Some people have one challenge, some people have another challenge. But what you just highlighted, where they start somewhere and then it kind of dawns on them, we've got this great asset that is a community. We could use this in these other ways that could be really valuable to other parts of the department. Or the product organization will say, hey, I noticed you've got this lively community there, but could we get plugged into that? And so I think it very commonly starts in one of those places. And then it may start as, hey, we need to develop more advocates or build our reference program for marketing. And then as it happens, people submit questions about, how do I do this? How do I do that? So it becomes a way to answer support tickets and deflect support tickets naturally. And then you'll notice that even if you don't have it set up for product ideation or product feedback, the product feedback happens. Hey, I wish we could do this. When are you going to be able to do this for us? And so it naturally gets pulled into this way where we're solving all these different problems for the organization. But it's exciting to see. It's like almost like gophers, like the departments in an organization pop their head up and say, this is interesting to me now. I could see the value. And sometimes companies are very forward thinking and they say, we know this is a company strategy. We're all in on the calls we have. They're bringing their entire executive staff. And sometimes we're going to start here, and then we get to watch that evolution over time.
Yeah, I would say almost every organization that we talk to, they want their customers sharing best practices with one another. And I'd call that like a customer success use case in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their customers all want to chat. They want to know, there's another organization that's just like me. What did they do perfect in using, this particular product? So almost all organizations start with that particular use case. And we, help you to get that launched with strategy as well. Then, of course, there's ticket deflection. And that's often not a phase two. I actually find those two things happen in conjunction a lot of the time based on my experience when I was in our onboarding team. And then, 6 months, 8 months go by and they're like, we're getting a lot of feature requests and ideas. I'm like, let's go check that product box. Let's talk to your product team and go into phase two of your launch now, where we're setting up feature requests and such. And then sometimes I'll see 1 year, year and a half down the line, they say, look, we want to reward these people that are going and answering all these questions. And that's where the advocacy phase comes in. And so that's normally the last phase of your community launch and such, where you're setting up a rewards program. We had one customer who has an 8-step rewards program. As you answer different questions, you get rewards, and it ends with you getting like exclusive meetings with executives, which is just a really neat way to do it. In the nonprofit space, it's a little different, right? A lot of people may not remember this, but most communities in nonprofits were listservs, giant email groups. And so a lot of associations come to us and say, we're doing this, we can't find anything. We'll say, well, you're doing the listserv functionality of Higher Logic right now. Let's move to a more like your own little mini LinkedIn. And that's why we rolled Thrive out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it looks like. It's almost like a mini LinkedIn that association gets to own. Then another 6 months go by and they'll say, our members are talking, but we want to connect members based on interest. And so we'll launch a mentoring program, right? So there's different phases on each side, whether you're in B2B SaaS or you're an association and stuff, that just you can grow with these different platforms.
I love that. And I think so. Two things stood out for me about what both of you talked about, and sort of like that idea of the journey and the approach. So often begins with thinking about the community as a reactive tool. How do we deal with this if the customer is having this problem or if this is happening? But then moving to that phase of evolution, of recognizing, hey, we've got these product ideas, or how do we incorporate more best practices in what we do to make the most out of our investment and what we're doing it as a particular tool? And that's a proactive approach to it. And so I feel like I keep running into this, with customers, is a matter of coaching them about having that receptive mindset or an agility mindset to be able to recognize those opportunities when they come and to experiment and to play. Community is really that I think I called it the bubbling cauldron, of terrific ideas and impulses and reactions to things that you're thinking of doing as an organization. And man, why wouldn't an organization want to take advantage of that? So I know we're all in violent agreement. Community is the best possible thing for any organization to start working with.
You don't have to convince us.
Well, and another thing for proactive, both of our platforms, you can track search terms, and I'll tell organizations, go look at what your top searches are. A use case for us, I think it was 2019. Our top search term was product roadmap. That was the top search in our community. So that told us, okay, people either can't find our roadmap or they're curious about it. We told our chief product officer at the time about it, and then he started doing monthly webinars and what we're going to be rolling out. Those searches dropped significantly, and those webinars started to grow significantly as well. And that told us proactively, what do our customers want? It's different than a website search where it's oftentimes just marketing material, but what are our customers? How can we impact them in a positive way? And even different analytics can really help drive that within community as well.
Yeah, it's a great thing to bring up because not only do the searches for product roadmap go down, but the inquiries to our CSM organization goes down. And so then every organization has the customer comes to the CSM says, let me check with product. Then they send an email to the product organization or a Slack to the product organization. And they're doing this for tens or hundreds of customers, and it's just not scalable. And it's not a good experience for the customer either. And so when, like Michael was talking about, you flip that on its head and you do a proactive one-to-many program where you've got these great product managers, these great CSMs or great support reps. How do we get their knowledge from a one-to-one customer relationship into the hands of all the customers who need to hear that? And so we believe that the medium to do that is the community. You want to set up your one-to-many program there. A great use case is on the support front. Our support reps say, we get this question every single day from a new customer. Let's set up a quick webinar, promote it through the community, and we're going to talk about troubleshooting this certain item. And now all of a sudden it comes to people and they're aware of it and they understand the solution before they've encountered it. So it doesn't become a ticket. They have a better experience. There's no lag time between submitting a ticket, hearing back from support. And it's a much better way to do it, but you're also doing it in a scalable way. Right now, nobody has a ton of budget where they're going to hire tens and tens of support agents or CSMs. Right now, everyone's kind of batting down the hatches a little bit. And so doing things in a one-to-many format is how we can still take care of our customers and still help them get what they need without necessarily doubling our headcount.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So speaking of battening down the hatches, I mean, I think there's been rumors of economic contraction, recession, things coming down the road. We've certainly seen within the community space a number of people have been laid off. What is Higher Logic's take on sort of where we see you see the market going in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, if I knew the right answer to that, I'd probably be doing a certain different job. But
darn it, I thought you knew. Wait, I was hoping.
Someone must know. No, yeah, it's a challenging one, but I think the feeling we're getting is that all of the people we interact with, our partners and our customers, everyone in our ecosystem is kind of like walking. Instead of the past couple of years has been everyone's sprinting, going forward, growth. How much can we do? How much can we hire? And now people have just slowed down a little bit. We're still moving. Everyone's moving forward, just at a more measured pace. And so with that, the importance of things like community and taking care of your customers and understanding your voice of the customer are much more important now than ever before, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I say to organizations is status quo and the way you're currently engaging with customers going to scale for you as things get a little bit tighter on resources across different organizations and industries and such. So I think whether a recession's coming, Will's much better financial expert than I am, but the reality of it is that organizations are in some instances downsizing a little bit, whether it happens or not. And you need something that is going to allow you to take those one-to-many actions, like Will was saying. Community is a great place for that. And, of course, I'm all for you to come to use one of our platforms, but community in any way, right? If you're a startup, starting a small Slack channel before moving over to a larger community platform like ours and such, right? Just have a place where you can do one-to-many conversations and allow customers to connect early on, because it's going to be more valuable, and you'll be kicking yourself a year from now and you realize, oh my gosh, our customers, we haven't talked to this one customer in 8 months. We don't even know what they're doing, right? And so that's what community really allows you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of it in terms of, to borrow from the military terminology a little bit, it's a force multiplier.
Yep.
It's going to let me do things that
Mhm.
I couldn't do otherwise. Or that I'd have to like put together focus groups or have like these panel research, kinds of platforms. The community's running 24/7, and I
Mhm.
can continuously test my ideas and my products and my approaches to the market and how my customers are reacting to things and in that kind of environment. So
Yeah.
totally agree.
And one of the things that we're doing, so early on, you asked me, like, what do I do as a strategist? And so part of this is driving outcomes for our customers. Right now, a lot of customers, they're feeling resource constrained. They're saying, I don't know if I have enough people to necessarily manage this community the way that I could be or should be. And so we looked at that, and we've heard that. And so we just started rolling out moderation services. So not only are we offering the technology, but we will also have somebody who can check on your community every day so that we can take a little bit of that blocking and tackling, for the sports analogy, off of your plate, let you get into some higher level strategic programs and really driving value in the community, while we're going to be there making sure there's no bad content, escalating any threads that are unanswered or need attention. So we're looking to craft a solution that's not just technology, but how do we help drive those outcomes for our customers?
I love that. You guys are willing to jump in as, I'll call them traffic cops,
Yeah.
to make sure that everything is continuing to move smoothly, and let whoever is the community manager or the team of community managers focus on the joy of connecting with other people, within the space. That's terrific. So, guys, we got a couple of minutes left here. I wanted to ask a little bit about sort of the roadmap for you guys, for the products. As a community strategist, I'm intensely interested in the future of communities and community platforms, and so I spend a lot of times on this stream and in a lot of my social feeds thinking and writing and talking about how is AI going to be impacting some of these things. Like ChatGPT came on the scene in December and like went gangbusters, over 1 million users really, really quickly. There's certainly a lot of things I'm very interested in with the metaverse and ideas of virtual worlds interacting with communities or being another metaphor for community moving forward. I'm curious about, like, what are you guys talking about? Like,
Yeah.
what do you see as kind of the exciting things on the horizon, maybe on the immediate horizon here, and sort of like, what potential you see for, some of these other technologies. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention blockchain as well, even though it's a not popular topic due to some crazy headlines we've had recently. I don't think those technologies are going away at all. But how are they going to impact communities and platforms like Higher Logic?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, well, first I'll tackle what do we see in the immediate future? Because all of the things you mentioned there's a collision course between community and all of these new budding technologies. So we can definitely address that. But in the immediate future, what we see is data. Community and community teams historically have not been equipped, or really enabled to pull out this rich community data that is being created in your community every single day. And this data is useful in it's useful in creating a better community, right? Like Michael was talking about, what are people searching for? What programs should we push out through the community? But it's also a gold mine for some of these other organizations, like as simple as capturing the voice of the customer for our product team, or understanding who our product experts are, even if they haven't necessarily raised their hands in our customer base. And then our marketing and sales organizations may be able to tap them and say, hey, can I get a quote, or can I quote this post you did in the community? This would help a lot of our potential buyers understand that where you're coming from on this perspective. So there's a lot we're doing to focus on community data. Another example would be, based on how engaged somebody is in the community, what does that tell us about them and their behavior as a customer? If somebody was there for months and months and months and posting, and then all of a sudden everyone from that organization dropped off, that's a pretty red flag we want our customer success team to know about, right? Their engagement as creator. So there's a lot that we can do there that I think we're just starting to scratch the surface on. So in terms of immediate future, I would point to data. Michael, any perspective on that?
Well, Todd, I was sharing this with Will last week. I'm a huge Chat GPT fan. I use it almost every single day,
Yep.
and it's in Zapier. If you're familiar with that, it's in Zapier. So for fun, I was like, you know what? I'm going to set up a Zap that answers every single question that I post in my vanilla community. And so anytime I ask a question on anything, it pings Chat GPT, and Chat GPT answers that question. Is it accurate 100% of the time? No, but it's pretty darn good. And so we've actually talked about, maybe commercializing that Zap and marketing it in some way, because what a lot of these AI softwares they're coming out as open source. So you can integrate them into your communities. I think I saw Graziti put out a report that 10% of organizations have already implemented AI into their community using something like this. So I've been excited about that. I do it in my demo environment all the time. I ask it a question. I ask it to share me a best practice, and it's really cool and neat. So for anybody watching out there, you can integrate, ChatGPT via Zapier. And one of my colleagues had a great idea. He said, well, just create a topic category called AI bot. And so you're asking a bot when that happens. So that's a neat thing that is already here. And I think the other thing, a simple sentiment analysis from AI is extremely powerful. How positively or negatively are people talking about a particular aspect of your product in the community? And that's simple AI. I mean, nothing super complicated. To Will's point on data, it's just how is it a positive, negative, neutral post around a particular topic? It can be extremely valuable, and maybe that can help drive marketing material. Everyone's speaking negatively about this. How can we address it? Let's push out a webinar around that. And then I think where I see part of the future is almost like an onboarding wizard of AI, where someone's like, these are my profile fields, these are the verticals I'm interested in, and then we're helping based on those fields that they filled out drive a personalized experience, which I think that's the future of it. From a blockchain perspective, I don't know if I don't think we're doing anything right now, but somebody actually said an interesting idea to me where instead of earning like a badge in your community, you earn an NFT, and then you could exchange that NFT for like a free event or conference. This particular person, I won't say anything, said, yeah, I want to allow them to exchange it for a one-on-one talk with somebody like Gary Vee. And I was like, that sounds awesome. That sounds really cool. I don't know if we're there right now, but give us a couple of years and we could get in that place. So there's some things that are here, some things coming, and some things that a little further in the future as I think community catches up with the technology there.
Yeah, I don't think those things are far off. I mean, I've thought a lot about NFTs and their incorporation with communities, particularly as social tokens,
Mm-hmm.
as a substitute for or complement to community gamification badges.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, like one of the things I'm excited about that I would like to see implemented, I think I'll give this to you guys for my wish list, is if I've gone into a particular community, I've earned a badge / NFT, goes into my virtual wallet or gets saved, someplace, around some contribution that I've made that's significant to that community. And then I join another higher logic community that's something like that. I'm carrying that with me in my wallet. I go into that community. That's already enriching my profile. That's something that I do. Maybe it gives me special access to an advocacy group. Maybe it could, adds me to a particular group when I come in if I've got that kind of badge. But like just ways to make gamification and acknowledgement of expertise or interest ubiquitous across
Mm-hmm.
platforms. I'm really intrigued by where that could go. And I think that's just one application of many of the things that we could do with the blockchain.
Yeah. We've thought about even just the concept, blockchain aside, of as we continue to build out our network and our ecosystem of more and more communities out there using our technology, is there some underlying data layer where you can actually have an experience that doesn't necessarily end in a single community, right? Because most of us are part of many communities, the products we use, the groups we're a part of, and if there's some sort of way we can make that experience a little bit more seamless across different communities, I think there'd be some pretty powerful things we could do there.
Yeah. We could do a whole other stream on this topic.
There's no shortage.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see that that implemented in some ways, in the coming years with any of the platforms that are out there. I just think there's there's tremendous power in that. And for me, like the tricky thing that I don't understand, from a technology standpoint is right now with virtual wallets, I think all the NFTs that I have in those are pretty much public record. So I could see like everything that's sitting in that wallet. What I would probably want, for various good reasons, I think to protect, certain things about, a person's personality or background, or even just by choice, how they choose to present themselves in a given community. When you join and you authenticate with a wallet instead of a server authentication, that I should be able to pick which NFTs I feel are most relevant to display within that community space. And I don't know if that's been built. I don't know if that's a thing yet. But it's something that I've got my eye on. That I'm much more interested in that than the Bored Ape Yacht Club or the cryptocurrency flipping market, for that kind of stuff, because that's not cool to me. But the stuff that we can do to really enhance how people interact in our communities, man, I'm over the moon about that stuff. I think it's great. So anyway, well, gentlemen, you guys are an amazing dynamic duo. Here, I really appreciate you coming onto the show. We're at time maybe a little bit over, but it's been so enjoyable talking to you. The time has flown by. If someone is interested in Higher Logic, they want to learn a little bit more, what's a good way to get a demo with somebody or to get set up and start working with you guys?
Come to our website. Pretty big call to action. Talk to us. Have a demo, or feel free to email myself, email Michael directly. I think we're just first initial last name at higherlogic.com. So please reach out. We'd love to continue the conversation.
Yeah, LinkedIn as well. Anybody watching, if you want to just shoot a LinkedIn message to myself or Will, I monitor mine daily, more than happy to answer and set up a demonstration. Even a simple discovery. If you're just thinking about community and you just want to talk through a few things, we're happy to strategize with you also.
Love it. Well, thank you both so much. And for those of you who happen to join us after the live stream, would love to hear your questions. Anything that you drop in the comments in YouTube or on LinkedIn or Twitter, would love to jump in. I do actively answer everything that you guys put in. And our next scheduled live stream was going to be February 10th. We're trying to lock somebody in for that because we had a little bit of a schedule change with somebody. So look for an announcement on that. But our next definitely scheduled person is going to be Shelby from an organization that is building accessible communities. And so that question of accessibility for people with disabilities, whether it's vision or another kind of impairment that prevents them from interacting with text in ways that a larger population does as a matter of course. I think building for disability, building for accessibility is just good design. And so I hope you'll join us for that. And in the meantime, look for an announcement on the 10th. But Shelby's going to be up on the 24th of February. We try to do about 2 to 3 of these a month. And so hopefully you'll join us then. In the meantime, you're heading into the weekend. I hope that you take some time for yourself to relax, to reflect, to rejuvenate. And we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Todd.
Great chat.